What's up, guys? This is my video on sacrifice now for later on. Don't sacrifice later on for right now. You have this epic plan of how you're going to make millions and bajillions of dollars. A billion bajillion dollars to be exact. 1 billion bajillion dollars. Now, think about it this way, man. For me, I was thinking like, oh shit, my body is fucking aching. For me, I was thinking like, oh, maybe I could just spend the next 10 years playing video games. Maybe that's something I would want to do. Is me to sacrifice the next 10 years to get good at my video game. But guys, to me, the video game is going to be there in 10 years. It's not going anywhere. The video game's not going anywhere. So in 10 years, would I rather sacrifice the next 10 years for the rest of my life and spend like I've spent the last 10 years building my business, building my portfolio, becoming sort of like wealthy, not just rich, but wealthy. Not just rich, but wealthy. I want to take what I've got right now and like quadruple it in the next 10 years. I want to translate some of my net worth into cash. I want to continue to build my business to the point where I'm making at least $10,000 a day. My strategy for how I'm approaching the next, 10 years of my life is to treat my 30s like how I treated my 20s. To me, I'm not 30 years old. I'm 20 years old. That's how I'm learning to look at things. Because once 40 comes around, I would like to be nice and set on cash and not have to worry too much about it. So if I could treat my 30s somewhat like how I treated my 20s, as like, this is my youth, this is my time to shine. This is my time to build the rest of my life. And I know the time is approaching for me to set out, leave behind the disability check, and to really start to build out what I have so far created in my business. That's what I want to do for the next 10 years is to build out what I created in my 20s. And I'm going to say fuck it to the gym. Except maybe in my 30s, I won't say fuck it to the gym. I'm still deciding on that. I would like to be in pretty good shape when I'm like 40. I would like to be in great shape financially when I'm 40. And I would like to still log in a few hours a day on video games all throughout my 30s. You know, but to spend my 10 hours a day playing the game of business, to spend 10 hours a day playing the game of business, I say I don't work 9 to 5, I work 8 to 6. You know, it's that 8 to 6 lifestyle of, you know, to work a little bit harder than the average person. To work a little bit harder than the average person. And to still spend good time playing video games. You know, that's what I really want to do. For right now, my study time every day for 4 hours a day of study. That's what I do while I play video games, is I listen to audiobooks and I study and stuff. You know, I'm going to start reading a bunch of books on marketing. As we all know that if you haven't figured it out by now, marketing is truly the key to success in business. Is getting your product in front of as many people as possible so that as many people as possible purchase your product. So starting pretty much today, I will be probably working through temp agencies, like part-time, you know, to stack up a little bit of extra money, you know. So treat your 30s the same way you treat your 20s. You know, people, they get it confused that people think that they're men, that they're like full grown men when they're like 18 or 21. That's not true. You know, like for me, I didn't really become like a fucking man until I was like 30, you know, and I'm turning 31 this week. So basically my thing is, I'm going to test my ability to work a job. Or maybe not, I don't know, you know. Probably I will start buying up books and stuff. I'm going to start saving my money. You know, I'm going to So that's what I'm going to do. You know, I'm going to treat my 30s the same way that I treated my 20s. Don't sacrifice your later on for right now. Don't sacrifice temporary joy for success in the long term. You know what I'm saying? You get what I'm trying to say? I don't know if I said that right, but don't sacrifice, like, you know, there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of people out there that think that there's always going to be more time. You know, for me, I have no delusions about how time works. You know, time flies, man. Like this past 10 years has went by for me in like 10 years has went by like 1 year. People, I think they like to settle in. You know, a lot of people, we like to settle in. That's why I say, like, I'm actually very grateful for my struggles these past 10 years. I'm actually very grateful for my struggles because it made it so that I never stayed in one place for too long. You know, I got very used to unfamiliar territory. I became very familiar with unfamiliar territory. And you know what I'm saying? These past 10 years, I've become very familiar with unfamiliar territory. And, you know, it's like, you gotta, if you want to be successful, you know, you gotta pay the man. You know, if you want to be successful, you know, you gotta pay the man. You gotta go out and get it. It's not just gonna come to you. You gotta go out and get it. You know, there's a time to wait, and there's a time to act. And right now, for me, is the time to act. I'm gonna talk to you guys later. Check out my live stream on my Day at the Computer live streams. This year, you know, I put down the tobacco and I picked up vaping. I, you know, basically have put a little bit of muscle on my body. You know, a little bit of muscle on my body. You know, and so my plan is, 2 hours, 3 hours a day in the gym, 3-4 hours in the gym, 2-3 hours, 3-4 hours in the gym, like on my workout days, probably like 4 to 6 hours a day on the video games, 4 hours a day of studying, and 10 hours a day of work on my business, God damn, coffee grounds in my mouth. Yeah. You guys hear me talking about all the time how I'm a multi-millionaire / billionaire, but how I don't have a lot of cash. And yeah, that's true, but that's gonna change for the better, like real soon. I'm going to be putting some cash in my pocket this year, hopefully. Just going to be refining my methodology, refining my business plan, and keep moving up in an upward direction. That's the goal. I'm not too concerned with moving up very fast. Just to always be moving up is kind of the goal. And I guess I'm like the first real like public internet like billionaire guy, where I make videos, I make vlogs, I make like life tips videos, like oh shit. And yeah, so my strategy for my 30s is to treat my 30s a lot like how I treated my 20s. But basically to take it a little bit more serious with the actual work part of things, to study less and to work more. And nowadays with AI, like everything's a lot easier. When I was coming up, I had to build everything practically from templates, and even way in the infancy of the internet, You know, they had to build everything from scratch. And now, like, that we've had templates for 20 years, now, like, where I was complaining, I never complained about having to build things from templates, you know. But now with AI, AI can do a lot of stuff for us that previously we would have to build based on templates, that now AI helps us create things basically completely from scratch. You know, there's some fucked up shit, but it works, you know. Anyways, I will talk to you guys later, salutations. I will talk to you guys later. Bye-bye. I'm going to treat my 30s, in summary, I'm going to treat my 30s the same way that I treated my 20s. It's kind of like how I'm not like real, like in life, like when I was 20, I was living at home with my parents. And now I live on government assistance through my disability check. So I never really had to grow up, never really had to grow up. And gonna be living that 8 to 6 lifestyle, that 8 to 6 lifestyle, it's not 9 to 5, guys, it's 8 to 6. I start getting ready. I'm going to start getting ready for my day around 6 or 7, rather to work like 12 hours a day, 10 to 12 hours a day, and to basically, to indulge in some of life's pleasures, though. As God told me this year that I don't have to work all day in order to achieve all day results. But I forged a great story for myself. I have a very similar story as, every other like majorly successful person, through grit and desire, I became super successful, and I'm going to keep on moving up in an upwardly spirally direction. So I will talk to you guys later. All right, bye-bye.